Hello, everyone, and once again here to evaluate another week of my project, my FMB project. So let's get straight to it. Get back to my site. Now last week I mostly talked about the results of my survey, and the information that I got back. And I mentioned how that I wanted to ask more people about questions about my project and what they thought about it and get more opinions. But I decided to change my mind about that because I feel like I feel like I got the information I wanted, that I needed, um, and I wanna keep going with this. I wanna keep going with the rest of the subjects I've got to get to. I gotta do for this project. So, but what I thought instead was that maybe I will ask the people I was going to ask now, but later on in the project when I start modeling and when I have more things to show them. I was thinking about asking other people then what they think about what I've made, and so I get like a so I get an opinion about the project throughout its different stages. I thought that would be a good idea. So for now, I'm gonna save those questions for later. But for this week, I've been continuing with of course, doing work for my site. And for this week, I've been looking at my main focus was target audience, and finishing off the target audience and going into more research, more in depth research. So this week I've started my secondary research. This first part was me talking about how since I didn't really give a good target audience for my pitch, and I had to kind of change it, and I give a new and have to use a series of a game that inspired my idea and use that target audience instead. So this is me explaining that, me going into more detail of for in my context page, I said I got the idea for my project from a Call of Duty game, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. And so in this section of the site, I'm kind of going into a bit more detail, as in looking into the what kind of people play this game, what's the target audience for this game, um, and looking into the facts and the figures, and looking into the marketing for these games and what kind of people they market the games to. So, and this section, I'm going into pegi rating. What is pegi rating? Who is what kind of company is it? What do they or organization? What do they do? And also talking about the ESRB, who do the same job but do it in a different place. The pegi are responsible for the European countries, lots of countries in Europe, whereas the ESRB they regulate the age rating. Oh, sorry. They regulate the age rating of games in North America and Canada. And so both of these organizations rate games to make sure that the content of the games are appropriate for the people playing, and or for the potential customers. And this is me talking about this is a good example of what each pegi rating means, and what kind of content a game would need to have or to achieve this kind of pegi rating. And I'm going through different examples of games that have the same pegi rating. And now I'm a bit conflicted, and this was the pegi rating that I've given my project. And I'm a bit conflicted about this pegi rating that I've given, because I'm not sure if I should put it up higher, put it up to an 18. Mainly, it's not because of any graphic content that I'm planning on adding to my model, adding to the office. I'm not planning on adding anything violent or graphic, but the point I was making, or the point that I was thinking about, was that this is the environment that I'm kind of making is supposed to be like a military ship. It's supposed to be like a navy ship, and I was kind of thinking about and how only really adults would be in these kind of environments, or should be in this kind of environment. But at the same time, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, well, it's not like it's as I was saying before, it's not like there's anything. I'm not planning on adding anything bloody or graphic to the scene. So I was trying to think of things that maybe that the content, what the content of this model will be and what it will look like, and I did, while I was, because originally I didn't really have any plans. Well, of course, my main task is, of course, to make the room, to make the office. So I wasn't really thinking about adding any decoration or anything like that. But I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about, well, what kind of things that I could add to the room that maybe would higher the age rating. And I was thinking, well, this is like a military type office, or military type environment, and so I was thinking that maybe like a very simplistic looking gun on one of the shelves or something. And somebody suggested in my survey, because I asked like what other things would they expect to see in an environment like this, and someone said I add like an alcoholic bottle to the desk, and I thought that would, of course, that would raise the age rate, the pegi rating as well. Oh, but according to the pegi 16 rating, it said that it would allow alcohol depictions of alcohol, to be seen in. So it doesn't raise up to an 18. I think an 18, you only raise up to an 18 if there's going to be a lot of blood, if there's going to be a lot of violence, a lot of very mature things happening on screen. And I couldn't really think of anything or any gross violence, and I really couldn't think of anything. And I don't think adding a gun, or adding a model is a very very simple model of a gun or a bottle of alcohol would raise the pegi rating up to 18. But I also thought about, well, the the inspiration for my idea came from Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and that is an 18. So wouldn't it make sense if this project was an 18 as well? But I looked into like the um and I was very shocked because I remembered because I at first I didn't think at first I thought that the Peggy 16 rating would be way too low for an environment like this. But then I also remembered there's this example of Call of Duty Ghosts, where that is a very kind of, I would say, a very mature game, very mature environment, and very mature story for a game, and yet it was the Peggy thought it was Peggy gave it a 16 rating, which I was very curious about because most of the Call of Duty titles are all 18s, and I think I found out this was like the first game in like 5 years or something that Call of Duty put out where it wasn't an 18, and I did try and um look for reasons as to why it was a 16 and not an 18. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to find much. Uh, um, I wasn't able to find much about the reasoning. And one kind of suggestion I found, which was says that they were that they wanted to focus more on the characters of the game and focus less on the violence and aspect of the game, which I don't necessarily agree with because I've played the game and in my opinion it's just as violent and just as mature as the rest of the Call of Duty games. But I wasn't able to find a very good explanation. Maybe I need to do a bit more research on the subject. But now I think about it, now I use that as an example. That would probably be a good example to bring up here, as into why or giving an example as to a Call of Duty game that has this kind of rating. And so yeah, actually now I think of it, it'd probably be a good idea to put that game here as an example, as to why I feel this age rating is more pro. I feel like this age rating as Peggy 16 would be a more appropriate age rating than a Peggy 18. Because again, I also realize with a Peggy 18, you're narrowing the audience that you can have, or the audience that can view your product or your and well in my case this model. So that's where I've kind of left it for now. I'm not quite. I think at the moment I think it's in a good place at the moment, but maybe I think I might have to ask someone, see what they think, see what they say about it. But for now, I feel I'm leaning more to a Peggy 16 than I am a Peggy 18, because I don't really see a lot of reason as to why it would, or a lot of what's the word, justification for a Peggy 18. Because I've already mentioned how I thought adding a weapon or a bottle of alcohol would raise it to a Peggy 18, but I don't think it does. I think it has to have adult adult classification of gross violence, of blood, of very explicit content, and I don't think I'm not definitely not planning on adding any blood or violence to my model or anything like that. But so yeah, I think a Peggy 16 at the moment makes a much more appropriate age rating for my project. At the Now I don't know, this might change later on, and I may have, depending on what I find, depending on if anything changes. I don't think anything will change. I think this will probably stay the rating that I've given it. But yeah, for now it's gonna stay like this. I feel much more. I feel like a Peggy 16 would be much more appropriate than any other Peggy rating here. Because again, also I feel like a Peggy 12 would be lowering it too much, and that would be too young for audience for too young an audience to see or to be in this kind of that kind of environment, or the kind of environment that I'm planning for my model. So I think Peggy 12 is a bit too young. And I feel like, yeah, Peggy 16 makes a much more appropriate um, age rating or Peggy rating. So that's where it's going to stay for now. The next part, I talked about the inspiration. So the inspiration for my game. I talked about how I came across this idea, and why I love why I love the design of this game so much. As in, I talked about how in a lot of sci-fi shooters or a lot of sci-fi games, I kind of feel like they go a bit overboard with the design of like the different ships and the different technology that's depicted in the game. So like I would say Mass Effect would be a good example of that. As in, sometimes it can look too advanced sometimes, and it kind of looks more alien than it does human, and it can be hard for the viewer, for the audience, to kind of relate to a lot of things that happens in these games. Whereas I feel like in this game, the art direction was just perfect and was spot on, and as in, I feel like it. I've said before, it takes a lot of inspiration from like modern day technology. It takes a lot of inspiration from um, like modern. Hang on, let's see if I still have this example here. Um, yeah. So this was a like a picture gallery type thing that I put together myself in my own time. Now this is way before the project started, and but even before the project started, I loved the design. I love the look. I love the art direction of this game, and I was talking about it in my own time. I mean, this is one of the pictures that I made, and the reason I'm showing this picture is just to show how they've taken they took a lot of inspiration from aircraft carriers and navy ships that we have today, and all they've done is just kind of elevate that and give it that extra bit of that sci-fi twist, if you will. And in my opinion, that kind of elevates it up and makes it 10 times better, because again, it you can I feel like you can look at these things and look at these ships, and it feels very, but it feels very familiar, and something you know. Anyway, so that's the reason why I chose this game in particular as my inspiration for this project. Act, and so this is what I'm explaining here. Explaining that this was a bit of concept work that didn't actually make it into the game, unfortunately. Um, and that I was looking at this and I thought it was a very it looked very simple and it looked like something that I could a good challenge for me. That's a better word. It looked like a good challenge for me to take on in this project. So that's how I got my idea for this project. This one, for this section, I'm kind of going into a bit more detail, talking about the reception that the game got and why it wasn't so, and why it wasn't so well received at the time. Talking about the kind of things that were happening back then and what that kind of made it less popular. How in the at that time, Call of Duty was really going into the whole kind of futuristic sci-fi genre, which I enjoyed, but lots of other people didn't, and people kind of got sick of it, and kind of got and wanted something a bit more basic, little bit more relatable. Hell, and so that's why they came up with a World War Two game later on in the next year. Unfortunately, I was trying to find news sources that kind of backed up what I was saying about how people didn't like this, or people kind of got sick of the futuristic settings that Call of Duty was having at the time. And unfortunately, at the moment, I wasn't able to find anything. But I think I will try and look again and try and find something that kind of backs up what I'm saying here. Because at the moment, I just kind of what this a lot of what I've kind of written here was just kind of stuff that I know, or the stuff that I know about, but of course I know I need to kind of back that up with some evidence before it can be taken seriously. So I will try and find another source of a news that kind of um, another source of news that kind of backs up what I'm saying. And these are reviews. These are the type of reviews that I found for the game. Now I had to be very careful with the review, especially the bad reviews that I found, because I almost used one that had swearing in it. So I need to be very careful about which one I use. Um, and there were some people did mention what I talked about, how they didn't like the jetpacks, or the how the player was able to fly around, and so, but unfortunately, a lot of the bad reviews weren't as I would just say it helpful as I was hoping, and as in a lot of them kind of talked about how this card didn't kind of live up to a lot of the other cards that came before it. I was hoping that they would kind of go into a bit more detail, as in why they didn't like this specific game and why they didn't like the specific setting or story that they made for the game. And unfortunately, I didn't find that. The good reviews were a bit more helpful, as in I feel like they were a little bit more better structured, as in they kind of did a little bit a better job kind of talking about what they liked about the game, what they liked about the story, what they liked about the setting, But even with the good reviews, I was hoping to find a review that would kind of talk about the the art direction of the game. Talk about the 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 overall design of the game and the technology in the game, and I was hoping to find someone who kind of talked about it in a bit more of a more detailed way. Again, unfortunately, I wasn't able to find that, but these were the now, but these were the positive and the negative reviews that I found for the game on Steam. Now I haven't finished this part yet, but next thing I'm going to talk about how well the game sold, whether it was a commercial success or not. And then the final part here is just talking about what IGN said about the game, what their review of the game was, and it was very much they didn't. They did a much better job talking about what they didn't like about the story, or what they didn't like about the game. I imagine they thought the story was badly paced and the characters were a bit boring and generic, and they weren't really very compelling. And they found that the multiplayer and the zombie game modes were a lot more enjoyable, a lot more fun, and part about the game. And that's what IGN had to say about the game. And this part, I'm just kind of talking about what I learned and what the overall results of what I learned was, um, and why it wasn't so, and how I learned it wasn't so popular, or wasn't so popular. But also going into the reasons of why I'm using it, why I like it, why I think it would be it's my inspiration for this project. The next section I'm gonna do. Oh, sorry. The next section I'm going to do is the genre section. So I'm gonna go talk about the sci-fi genre, talk about the different types of sci-fi. Now, I mentioned in my proposal and in my pitch, I was going to talk about it in my pitch, but I didn't get that far. Of how I have a book at home. I have a book here that talks about the sci-fi genre, and well, it's more about how to draw and paint like sci-fi art, but I didn't really I didn't really use it during the sketching phases of this project. So instead, what I've decided to do, because at the very beginning of the book, they kind of talks about how the genre started, and all the different types of genre, all the different types of sci-fi genres and all that. And so I'm just gonna use the first section of the book, and talk about that. At which, of course, since this is my own book, and since this is something that have here, I think that would go under primary research. I have to go all the way back up here. It would go under primary research. So I think my plan is at the moment is kind of to use this book, or the first section of this book anyway, to talk about like the very beginning of sci-fi and how it started, the very basics, shall we say, very quickly go over it, and then in the secondary research, I can kind of go into a little bit more detail and talk about the different genres and the subsections and all that. But most importantly, the in this genre section, I'm going to talk about the specific genre that I've chosen for this project and why I've chosen this genre and what I like about this genre so much. So yeah, that's my plan for the next section of my website, of this site. But after that, I will be getting on with the industry professionals and be looking into artists that in professional artists that have done who have kind of made the same kind of environment models or same kind of genre of environment that I'm doing. And I'm going to be doing this to see how they did it, what techniques they used, maybe what techniques I could use in my project. I'll be looking for professional examples done in the same software I'm planning to use, which would be Blender. Now I don't think there are as many professional Blender models out there. I definitely think Maya is the more popular software, but I have seen them. I've been on ArtStation, and I've seen some awesome environment models, like sci-fi environment models, and they use the same software. They use a Blender, so especially I'll be looking out for those kind of examples. But also another point is that doing this will kind of be like the last minute inspiration, if you will. So if I see anything, if I'm looking at these examples and I just happen to see something that I go, oh, that would be a cool idea. That could be something that I could add to my project. So that's and one other point, and the very very last bit of inspiration before I get started. Before I get started modeling. Where's the other point? So that's what I'll be looking out for in these examples. But something else I've also mentioned. And now I in order to find these images that I've been using, the Infinite Warfare images, these of the different ships and the different the interior environment of these ships. I've been going to ArtStation because a lot of the artists that worked on Infinite Warfare have put their stuff now on ArtStation, which of course I can go find. But I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, well, should I be using the same examples? Because I've already talked about them. I've already talked about what I liked about them, and I thinking about and. But then again, maybe it would be a good idea to find out find out the kind of people or find the kind of people who worked on this kind of environment, who worked on this game. So maybe it would be a good idea, but I just thought that it would be my first idea anyway, or my first idea was maybe that for this section I should try and find different artists, should try to find different artists that have worked on similar projects, simply because as looking at different styles, different examples might give me other ideas to use in my might give me other ideas that I could use in my model. But then again, if this is the kind of style that I'm going for, it would make sense to kind of go for the people who were to look for the kind of people who were responsible for this style. So no, maybe it would be a good. Maybe I'm kind of being a bit too being silly about this. Maybe it would be a good idea. Sounds like a no-brainer, but I just thought to it would be a good idea to think of other suggestions. That's all. But the more I think about it, the more it kind of makes sense. And so yeah. So that's the next section I'm going to be doing, looking for artists who looking for other 3D artists who have made the this kind of environment, like the sci-fi kind of office space, a sci-fi interiors is now I've also added this video tutorial section, and this is where I'm going to put all of my all the videos that help me with my project, all the tutorials, all the modeling tutorials and all that. This is where they will go. At the moment, I only have this perspective video, because that's the only video I've used so far. But I have got a few ideas or a few suggestions of other videos that I could use, the other videos that I could add to this section. Now that kind of brings me to my next point, or my last point, about whether I should start modeling or not. Right. Because I've been kind of looking at I've noticed that other classmates of mine have already started the practical stages of their project. And I kind of feel like I'm kind of falling behind, because I've been doing all this written work. But at the same time, I know that the written work is important. But I don't want to fall behind. I don't want to leave it too late. I don't want to get to a stage where I get all the written work done, but I have hardly any time to do the modeling. So I've been thinking about it and thinking about what would be the best way to handle this. Because I think if I was to wait until I've written about absolutely everything, I think that wouldn't leave me with much time to finish the project. Well, I guess it depends on how fast I write. I guess it depends on how quickly I work through each section, how quickly I work through this checklist. But I was thinking about it, and I'm thinking maybe a way around it, another suggestion would be that for right now, I focus on the biggest sections of writing, or I focus on the main sections of the written work. And I try and get those done to a good standard, and try and get those done and quickly, so then I can start my then I start my modeling process I still have written work to do, but it wouldn't be so much to do, and it wouldn't be a lot of stuff to do. So maybe that's how I do it instead. Instead of waiting, I do till I do absolutely everything. Maybe I kind of try and get a little bit more done. Try and get a little bit more written work done, and then once I feel comfortable, or then and I could just start the modeling process. Because as I said before, I don't want to leave it too late. So for now, oh, I think my main priorities at the moment is my main priorities is writing about the genre and the industry professionals. But then again, I could be not wasting my time, but I could be working on this. Is when I could be getting a basic idea, a basic model together. I think the sooner I start working on the model itself, the sooner I start modeling, I think the better overall in this project. Because as I said, starting early will give me, of course, more time to work on it, more time to obviously start the work. I think for this project, I think I need to understand or learn the skill of multitasking, of doing both at the same time. I do my modeling, but I also do the written work as well. Oh, and at the same time. Now, I struggled with this in my last project, not the team project, but sorry, but the project before that. I kind of got a bit stressed with the idea of writing and doing my practical work. And I think this is a skill that I need to practice and get better with, because of course this is the kind of skill that I will have to use. They'll probably expect of me in work, in a work environment. I can't just hold off things until I feel like I'm ready to do them. And sometimes you gotta just let's get it done. And sometimes that means taking the difficult route, which means doing them both. With which, but that doesn't mean you still don't come up with a plan for both of these things, for both these aspects, if you will. So what I've thought about so far is for I dedicate certain time or certain days to certain aspects of the project. So like as an example, like Monday, Tuesday would be writing, and then no, I'm not in on Tuesday. So, no, I can still work on the project at home. That's the benefit of using Blender over Maya, because if I was using Maya, I would only have those college days to work. So it would be like something like the first half of the week I do the written work, and then maybe the last half of the week I do the practical work. So I think that would be a good way of splitting up the week and giving time for both aspects of the project. so yeah, I like that idea. I think that's where I'm gonna go. I think that's what I'm gonna do, because I feel because even though we've just started the project, I still kind of feel like time's running out. So and I want to make sure that I use all this time wisely and I don't waste any of it. So I think this makes a nice compromise. Splitting up the weeks or splitting up the days into certain tasks. And as I said, as I just said, um, um, since I'm using Blender, I can work from it at home. I mean, at college and at home. So I don't have to worry about any problems about leaving it or only having to work at it in college. Um, but then again, I also think, but so I kind of now I think about because I'm thinking about because part of the secondary research is going to be about what kind of textures I'm going to use or where I'm going to find the textures and things like that. So and I thought doing that first would make more sense or in my original plan of getting the written work done and first because then of course with it all done and only having the modeling work to do, then I can just kind of look back at what I've done or look back at the written work that I've done. But if I'm gonna go with this new plan of splitting up the days, is then I won't necessarily have that. But again, this is the starting stage. This is the starting stages. So I don't think I have to worry about textures yet. So I still have time. I still have time to do that research. I still have time. So hopefully, when I do get to that point, when I do get to the stages of needing to add the textures to the model, then I would have already done my research on textures and what kind of textures and where to find the textures and all that. So yes, I think that makes a better plan. I think that kind of puts me a little bit more ease at the moment because I've been kind of feeling a bit, what's the word? Not overwhelmed, but kind of rushed. As I feel like I have to get all the written work done as quick as possible. And so this new plan of splitting up the days from written work to practical work it makes more sense, and I think that would be a better. I think I think that's a much better way of doing this project or planning this project. So I think so. It's kind of similar to what I did with my last project, where I did the same thing. And I kind of broke up written days to practical days, and that seemed to work out well and to work out a lot better. And so I'm just gonna use the same plan for this project as well. So yeah, okay, I feel a lot better now. I feel a lot better. I have a plan. But now I kind of think about another question comes to mind. Do I continue to use this prototype that I've made and continue to add onto it, or do I start from scratch? I think starting from scratch could probably be a better idea because as I can kind of take what Thomas said to heart, because he mentioned something about scaling. He mentioned something about scaling the room, not giving myself too much work to do, and making sure everything's in proportion. And this was just to see if I could do it, if I could make this room, see if I could make an environment like this, or the start of an environment like this. I think what I will do is I will start from scratch, because I feel like I have a much better idea of what the room will, or the plan for the room, than I did when I did this model. um so my plan so far, with the as far as the modeling the room goes, my plan so far is just to get a very basic idea of the room, or just a basic space of the room, basically. So just doing the four walls, making sure everything's kind of in its right place, is. And then once I feel like I have a good grip, a good understanding of the room, then I will start making individual objects, or individual things that are supposed to go into that room. Um, so, like, hang on, if I can get a better angle. So, like this desk, for example. So then I will, once I've made the room, once I've made the space, then I will kind of do very similar to what I've done here, and just kind of do like a block out level. Then, and I will take each individual element of the room, and move it out. Hang on, let me just do this again. Move it over here. Because moving it out, moving it away from that room, kind of gives me a lot more space, a lot more freedom. So then, in this kind of space, I will work on work on each individual object. Once I feel like it's finished, once I feel like it's done, then I will move it back into the room. And then, of course, it will look like it's supposed to. And I would just do that for a lot of the objects in the room. Once every object is done, then of course I move on to texturing every object. Now, since I think doing it this way makes a lot of sense, because doing it this way, having the object finished, and then moved into the room, means I don't have to move anything. All I have to do is just put a texture on it, and it will just needs to stay there, basically. And then it will be a case of texturing everything, and also kind of deciding how I'm going to texture things. Like, I mentioned this before, but about how, like, in this example, I kind of did the four walls of the room all in one shape, but that, I know that's not necessarily better for the texture, as it kind of stretches texture. Now, again, of course, it depends on what kind of texture I'm using. Maybe the texture I'm using, you won't even notice it, so it won't be such an issue. But again, it all depends on the kind of texture I'm using. So that's my kind of basic plan for how I'm going to make this model, how I'm going to make this room. Of course, the problem that I found so far with working in an environment like this is that it's very easy for the camera to kind of go into the wall, and so making it, of course, a lot harder to kind of work within this space. But a good workaround I've kind of thought about just now is this wireframe mode, because in this wireframe mode, it kind of takes away all the mesh of each object, and you can only see the edges or the lines of each object. Like, so it kind of gives you a nice little grid, if you will, or a nice little outline of how the space looks. So that's something I just thought about now. There we go. Oh, so, is there anything else? Oh yeah, that reminds me, yes. The camera, I explained in one of my other videos, I've had a a problem with the camera. In that um when I try look through both of them, I can only see one. I can only see through one camera at the moment. I can't see through the other. And I have found a video to help me with this, and I think that video will be exactly what I need. So that will probably be one of the first videos I watch when I start modeling, and of course I'll add it to my my video section here. But yeah, I think that's my overall plan for the room. Although something else as well, is that I think I'll save the roof of the of the room until I finish. That'll probably be the last thing I do, because it can be very difficult to kind of get the camera into position, or get the viewer into position where I need it to be. If the roof is there, because again, I think this hallway makes a good example. Oh, okay. Of course, you're kind of into the. You keep getting stuck into the not stuck into the wall, but you can't see through the wall. So I think that would be the last thing I do. The last. But also something else I hadn't thought about, but is equally important, is the lighting of the room, and how I'm gonna add that in, and so that I think I have an idea for how I'm gonna do that now I think about it. So yes, lots of things to think about, lots of interesting things to think about. But the good thing is that when I do start this new model, I will have this as a base, at least I can use as like a plan, if you will. Also, I'm very happy with what I've made here. But again, it was just supposed to be a basic plan of the room. So yes, that's the plan that I've come up with so far. As I said, still got a lot of sections, a lot of subjects to work through. But I think this new plan I've come up with of separating the days is separating them from site work to practical work. I think makes a good idea. It's a better plan than the first plan I had. I feel a lot more comfortable with that plan, and so as far as the written work goes, the next sections I'll be working on are the genre sections and the industry professional section. And then as far as the modeling, the practical stages go, I will be working on a new version of this. It's and adding, just trying to get the basic layout of the room done, and then I will start working on each individual object in the room, and one by one moving them into place. So yeah, that's my plan for my project so far. I think that's everything I want to talk about. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. I feel a lot happier with this plan, and I think it makes a better plan than the first one. And these are the two sections I'll be working on next. And I will start making my model very soon. I mean, probably today. I will start working on the model very soon. So, yep, I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. Thank you.